What's up, friends? My name is Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. You can call me Captain Jangly Dangly Wangly Man. Welcome to Whoop Wednesday. Smells like sadness. Oh, hey. Toothfairy 2 scratch build tonight. Ready for cursing. We're gonna be attempting to scratch build a frame that I've never built before, which is never a good idea. But I'm sort of the king of bad ideas, so here we go. Let's make anger happen. Whoop Wednesday is Cinewhoop Wednesday tonight. The FPV cycle Toothfairy 2 is a 3-inch rig. Well, it's kind of a hybrid, 3-inch, 5-inch. It's a DJI carrying rig. Bob actually set it up, set it up so that there's no standoffs in the rear. The Vista takes the place of the rear standoffs, which is just wild. I think originally this was created to kind of compete with the Oh My God 250, because there are 5-inch arms for it. But then Bob made 3-inch arms for it, and then he made these 3-inch Cinesplorer-ish arms for it, with the extra little part here for the duct to mount to. And so, yeah, this in talking to Bob about this frame compared to the Cinesplorer, this frame is going to be a little bit better with resisting vibrations, which is kind of great because the Cinesplorer is good enough, but there is a point where you kind of can't push the PIDs or the filters any farther. So maybe this frame will get me a little bit beyond that point, which is nice. It's nice to have a little bit of extra headroom. My two Cinesplorers with the tunes like dialed in to carry big fat Hero 8 up front with 2004 motors. The filtering and the PIDs are kind of at the limit, where if I beat it up, or if one of the motors gets beat up, it's going to start having mid-throttle oscillation problems, which on a Cinewhoop you're really not going to be beating the motors up, so that's not really that big of a deal, but I always do like to have a little bit of extra leeway there. You got to really push, so to deal with the weight of the Hero 8 all the way up front on the nose, you got to really push the pitch P and D gains pretty far, like 20 points beyond the roll P and D gains. And that's a lot to be able to handle that much weight really far forward. I pull my 4S850 batteries back as far as possible to try to even out that CG, but it's it's a lot. So potentially with a little bit more arm strength, basically, to handle the vibes coming off the motors and the props, this thing might be a little bit better suited. So I've actually got 2 of them. We're just going to try to do this first one here tonight, and then we'll figure out if we're going to build a second one, or I don't know. We'll figure it out after tonight. But this should be pretty fun. I'm looking forward to it. This also gives me an excuse to put these Axis Power 2004 3710 kV motors back on a rig. These motors are not notchy, but they're also not quite as smooth as the Brother Hobby VYs or the Newbie Drone 2004s that I have on the Cinesplorers. And when I put these motors onto the one Cinesplorer, admittedly without a capacitor, that might have been the problem. These were a bit much, and I initially blamed it on the tiny little amount of cogginess that these have, but I actually think it has more to do with these making more. As you make more power, you typically need more capacitance. and without a capacitor. Well, that rig does have a capacitor, but it's up on the XT30, which is pretty much useless. So yeah, but this is a great opportunity. If these arms are a little bit stronger, then that will eliminate the possibility of it being a cogginess issue. And then for this rig, I'm using a little bit nicer of an ESC than that other rig that should have more capacitance on board. This is an Acon AK32 pin, 35 amp, 4-in-1. So, and I will try to get a, this build is very tight, so I might not be able to get a capacitor in there, but I'm certainly going to try to get a capacitor properly inside of there on its own set of leads with a cap, rather than all the way up on the XT30 where it does pretty much nothing. So that's the plan. I'm going to get caught up on chat, and then we are going to dive on in. I have a couple things for sale. I have a set of RC & Power, brand new set of RC & Power 2105 M5 nut motors, 3600 kV in blue and pink. I've got 2 sets of Toothfairy 2 5-inch arms, so anybody else that's going on a Toothfairy 2 adventure and going the 5-inch route, I've got some arms for you. And then I've got a couple of PH 2.0. I've got 3 PH 2.0 2S batteries, 2 350 mAh, 1 300 mAh. These have only been cycled 2 or 3 times. Like I said, they've got a PH 2.0 connector on them, pretty unique. And I've got 2 of these HGLRC Areola 0802 22,000 kV motors, brand new. So if you need any of that stuff, let me know. I would love it to go to a good home. I'm also considering selling this Emax Nanohawk. Nanohawk X with the original motors and a set of Beta FPV 1103 15,000s. So 2 sets of motors, 4 batteries. Yeah, let me know. Realistically, I'm just not going to fly this thing. I would rather it go to a good home where it's going to get properly abused and slammed into things. And that's not my home where that's going to happen. This is my full-time job. If you'd like to support me on this wild FPV adventure, head on over to CiottiFPV.com and just start clicking buttons. Patreon helps me out the most. $3 a month, you can get in the door. Lots more value than $3 a month. It's only 10 cents a day. You got it. You're going to get email notifications when I live stream, Facebook notifications. You're going to get access to audio-only versions of all these live streams so that you can listen to them in your pocket like a podcast. There's discount codes in there sometimes. There's a YouTube playlist here, Patreon-only YouTube playlist with past Patreon-only live streams and like sketchy stuff, unfinished edits, raw flying. There's almost 90 videos in that playlist. Lots of good content. A bunch of other stuff. You want to be on the Patreon. If you're not on there, you're missing out. You're also going to get all access to all of the Discord channel, which is going to include the stick and dick end. The stick and dick end project, which is I'm buying one of every single stick end that exists, putting them together in a big kit, and I'm going to send them to one patron. They're going to use them, figure out what their favorite one is, buy their replacement favorite, send the kit to somebody else. They can do the same thing, buy their favorite, send the kit to somebody else, and that kit is just going to bounce all around the patrons. Admittedly, starting from the top down, the folks that have been supporting me the most for the longest are going to get first crack at this. But it's just going to filter right down, and it shouldn't take long. I'm hoping that the turnaround can be a little bit shy of a week. You get the kit, you put them right onto your radio, just one by one by one by one. There's going to be a bunch that you definitely don't like. You narrow it down as quick as you can. You fly a bunch of batteries, you pack the kit back up, you send it to the next person. I don't want this kit to sit with any one person for more than a week. So I'm going to bug the hell out of you guys to keep it moving. What else? Fiverr, if you want to do one-on-one sessions today, Wednesday is my day that I've got a bunch of weekly sessions booked up. A couple of folks were like, yo, I need help, one-on-one help every single week. I'm doing a discount when you do that. If you just do one session, it's the regular rate that's on Fiverr. If you want to get a weekly time slot every Thursday at 1 Eastern, there is going to be a discount for the one-on-one sessions. We can work in the simulator so that you learn to fly better. We can work on tuning. We can work on buying the right parts to build proper builds that don't catch on fire or blow up. It's going to save you both time and money. Or if you just have questions, this is one-on-one mentorship. Whatever you need help with, I can help out. If you're just like super fresh, brand new, learning to fly, it might not be the best bet. I'm sort of like FPV 102. I'm not good at like how to set up OpenTX and stuff like that. I can figure it out, but I typically just go to YouTube and search for the answer and find the Joshua Bardwell video. I'm here to kind of help you refine and to help you buy the right parts and fly a little bit better and stuff like that. The super, super, super early days FPV stuff, I went through that like 5 years ago and didn't look back. That was not my favorite time period. I loved it. Once I was in this for 6 months to a year and actually started to figure things out, that's when it became really, really fun. At first, it was super frustrating. If you do need help right out of the box, though, Remy Tim is doing FPV mentorship. Remy Tim is one of the moderators in here. If you need his info, let me know. We'll get you linked up. Etsy store, bunch of stickers. Look at these Micro King stickers. You want one for your face. Stickers and random hardware for your builds that you might need so you're not stuck waiting for stuff to get delivered. Teespring store with some fun shirts. T-shirt of the day is FPV Exchange and Skadoosh with your boy's old school logo in the back. That's about everything. What's up in the chat here, friends? Grizz FPV was first, Freelojo was next, Riot 9, Brandon's Baked Beans, David Ciotti, my father, is in here. Oh boy, everybody behave. Don't behave. Be insane. Rob Axelson, Riot 9, Northern Tier, Kevin Sumner, CMYK is in the house. Who else is up in here? Arazi B, I pronounced it wrong. I always pronounce it wrong. Rob Axelson, Ram Donko, Paul McDonald, Richard, Maggie's in here as well. Looks like Maggie, my dad, my girlfriend and my dad are in here talking. Hopefully they're talking shit on me. It's their one chance. Paul McDonald is here. Gator FPV, Frank Nicholas, Ram Donko, Riot 9. YouTube just did the thing. I'm going to leave it there. Justy Joe, Raven, B-Man, Shifty, Quad Doc, JP, Boys FPV, Kevin Sumner again. What's up, friends? If you want to talk directly to me, all you've got to do is push the wrong button. No, all you've got to do is type CiottiFPV, and it'll light up an orange, and I will read it. If you do not type CiottiFPV, I will think that you're talking amongst yourselves, which you should do, because the people in the chat are amazing and super knowledgeable. OG folks, if you see somebody not tagging me that's asking a good question, copy it, paste it, give them credit, and tag me, and let's talk about it. This stream tonight is going to be build heavy. This is a scratch build on an unfamiliar frame. This is going to take forever. So I'm going to rip through the chat, get caught up as quick as I can, and then head over here to the bench. When I'm on the bench, it's a lot harder for me to keep track of chat, so I will miss messages where you guys tag me. If you do a super chat, I will not miss it. It will make a noise, and it'll really show up big. So on these build-heavy streams, if you absolutely need me to read your comment, you got to do a super chat. Every other stream is not really like that, so I think that's pretty fair that every once in a while that's the case. Especially because, you know, with most live streamers, that's the case, like top to bottom. If you don't do a super chat, your comment is probably not going to get read. Most live streamers say don't, like, a funny joke is don't at me, don't at tag me. You know, I specifically tell you guys to at tag me. Most streamers tell you not to at tag them and only do super chats. But your boy is not selfish. No, it's not selfishness. It's about how many people are in the chat. If there's more than 100 people in the chat, and people are tagging the live streamer, it's just impossible to keep up. So that's why that's like that. Rob Axelson says, hey, got the package, Whoop frame, Newbie Droid Motors, antenna, and stickers. Thanks. Did I win a giveaway? You did, Rob Axelson. So I think that's one of the first times that's happened where, like, now that I set Patreon up to require you guys to put your address in there, if you're on the giveaway tiers, which are $5, $10, and $20 a month, I have all your guys' addresses. So when you win the giveaways, I don't have to message you and say, hey, what's your address? I need to ship you some stuff. I already have it. And I love that because I can surprise Rob Axelson. He won. He didn't happen to be watching that Monday night. I grabbed his address and just sent him his stuff. And then he gets this package in the mail and is like, oh, FPV parts. Whee! I love that. I really love that. That, like, you know, if that ever happened to me, I would be like, oh, this is the happiest day ever. Free quad parts, you know. Hopefully, you can use something in there, Rob. That's always my nightmare. It's like, oh, yay, free quad parts. I don't need any of that stuff. That's why I have the giveaway set up the way that I do over on Patreon, so that if you fly a lot of tiny whoops and toothpicks, you can just enter to win that stuff in the $5 a month tier. If you fly a lot of 3-inch micro brushless and Cinewhoops, you can just enter that $10 a month tier and only win that kind of stuff. If you fly only 5-inch stuff, you can just join the 5-inch tier and only win 5-inch parts. CMYK FPV says, yo, dude, what's going on, collective? Looks like my dad's talking kites. Very cool. With Rob Axelson. Scrolling. Razzie B says, what's up, collective? Hola, gangly one. Dan636 says, can I get a clam, man? I've had a rough day of flying today. I just lost it. Where is it? You ever have days where it feels like you've never flown a quad before? Today was like that.
諦めんなよ。諦めんなお前。どうしてそこでやめるんだ、そこで。もう少し頑張ってみろよ。ダメやめ諦めたら。周りのことを思うよ。応援してる人たちのことを思ってみろって。あともうちょっとのところなんだから。俺だってこのマイナス10度のところ、しじみが取れるって頑張ってんだよ。絶対やってみろ。必ず目標達成できる。だからこそ、ネバーギブアップ。
There you go, brother. I hope the rest of your day is a little bit better. Dan, that's, you know, there's a lot of days like that in FPV. Ram Doggo says it's late here, not sure I'll make the 6 hours. Yeah, we'll be going until at least midnight. We'll see how I do. I was so hopped up on goofballs last night after the stream. I had a really hard time getting any sleep, which I didn't get much. And then I had a super busy day today. I had talk therapy, and then I had a call with Joshua Bardwell and a couple of the guys who are working on the Ultimate Shopping List project together. And then I went straight to talk therapy, and then I came straight back here for 2 phone calls back to back. So it's been a awesome, busy day. We'll see. We'll see how late I can last tonight. But yeah, I'm gonna try to get a good chunk of this done. I mean, with a fresh build like this, there's like an hour or two that gets spent just like figuring out all the hardware, figuring out how to make stuff fit. So there's a chance that that's all that will get done. But I mean, it just needs that needs to get done. You know, you can't skip that part of a build unless you've built that frame before. So you know, we'll get done what we get done, and then I'm gonna stream again tomorrow. And we'll get a little bit more done, potentially on this build, unless by some unbelievable miracle we get it all the way done tonight. And then Friday, I think I'm gonna put a Vista into the glide with the dead cat arms. And Saturday, I'm gonna try to handle all of the setup from Maggie's place. Get the goggles, get the goggles and the Vistas updated. I think I can do all of this from the laptop. Get the goggles and the Vistas updated. Obviously, I won't do the brand new update on the goggles. Maybe I won't update the goggles at all. I'm really nervous to even plug them in to the I don't know. I don't know what to do. I've never done any of this before, so I'll be figuring it out. Actually, I'll be leaning on you guys in chat to help a brother out, because it's probably quicker for you guys to just tell me what to do and what not to do, because a bunch of you have been on DJI for a long time. So, yeah, Saturday should be interesting, and that'll be the end of DJI week. Stream again on Sunday at 3, as always. And, yeah, in theory, I'll be up in the air on DJI by Sunday. Wild. Weirdo with the skateboards in the house. He says, how does it make you feel that the 2 richest men on earth are both spending millions trying to leave? Joke's on them. There's nothing going on out there that's going to support life. Kevin Sumner says, quoting Michael Massey, he says, gotta spell the whole thing out. Got it. Michael Massey said... can't wait to chill with you tonight. How are you doing, Ciotti? I'm doing good, Michael. Yeah, type. You don't have to put the @ but you do have to do CiottiFPV, one big word, and then it'll light up in orange. Razzie, where'd it go? Razzie B says, practicing stick bang. Meh, it passed, I guess. Are you practicing it? I'm certainly not. I don't like that flight style. It hurts my brain. Dan636 says that fast flick into the slow Oh, you guys were talking about you guys were typing that when the intro was playing. Yeah, so that the intro flying was my first day of testing the T-Motor F40 Pro 4s. This was back in 2020. June of 2020 that was. Yeah, the T-Motor F40 Pro 4s were brand new, 1950 kV, versus the Pro 2s that I'd previously been flying, and I still do fly at 1600 kV. So I was getting a little wild with it, being a lot thrashier, let's say, than I usually am, because they had so much more power from 1950 kV, having the extra RPM versus what I was used to, which is 1600. So yeah, it's fun to, it's cool to kind of fly smooth, typically, because then you can just flip a switch and fly really hard. I feel like it's a lot harder if you fly really hard all the time. It's harder to kind of flip a switch and fly smooth. You know what I mean? That could just, I'm totally biased in saying that, but it is what it is. Metanertson says, are you going to butter that little shim up with Niogel on the Toothfairy 2? Supposedly that's what it's there for. Yes, this thing. I'm going to go on FPV Cycle, and on the product page they have instructions on how to use this extra little piece, because apparently you don't need to use this, but I am certainly going to use it. That actually reminds me that I meant to put the damping grease on the... So I changed my mind. For anybody that came along with me on the 6-hour adventure yesterday, that was our Tuesday live stream, I did change my mind. So I was building the Razorback here, which is going to get the white FPV Cycle Imperial motors, and then it's all red. The Razorback is a ship on the Expanse, and it's a red and white ship, so this is going to get named that. This is that ship on the Expanse is a really fast ship. This is the really fast glide. 6mm arms, big old motors, 51, 52 ultra pitchy props, 40-degree GoPro mount. Last night, I thought that I'd made my mind up that I was going to run it on 25mm standoffs, but when I couldn't sleep, one of the reasons I couldn't sleep is I just kept turning over and over and over in my head what to do with this rig. And yeah, I changed my mind. So I put it back onto 20mm standoffs. Basically, I changed my mind because this rig is currently laid out, flight controller in the front, 30x30 ESC in the middle, and then Vista in the back. The Dead Cat 5-inch rig and the Cineglide both are set up to have a double stack, ESC and then the flight controller on top of the ESC. So when you do that, then it uses more of the vertical space. This rig is set up in a way where anything more than a 20mm standoff is just a total waste of vertical space. It's not a big deal. Like a 5mm difference in standoffs is not, like, probably can't really tell the difference in flight. But, you know, it's just the idea behind it. Like, this rig is well suited for the lower standoffs. The reason why I was going to do the taller standoffs was so that I could clear the gray DJI camera. But that's stupid. I have a couple of these Nebula Pros, and they will clear with a bunch of up tilt. They will clear on a 20mm standoff. So it just kind of makes more sense for me to have this on a 20mm standoffs. And yeah, so for the live flying gig, I'll have the Cineglide and the 5-inch Dead Cat glide, and that'll be totally fine. I probably won't even fly those rigs. I'll probably be flying Cinewhoops because there will be like a crowd and it's a closed road. But yeah, I don't need to go a million miles an hour at that, so there's just no reason for this. To have that DJI camera on it. The Nebula Pro is going to get the job done. So yeah, I think I've figured out a capacitor solution. I'm VHBing it right to the side of the Vista there, and it looks like the props will just barely clear it. So we'll see. It's either here, or I could maybe stand it up here vertically, but I don't think so. There's not a really good way to mount it. Or technically I could turn it around and I could run a zip tie around the entire ESC, and I could just pull it into the side of the ESC up here, basically just reversed from where it's at now. I can't find another spot for the damn thing to go. It's with the Vista in the back, it's taken up all the space that I used to use for capacitors. So yeah, it's tough. I finally found something that the glide frame doesn't do really, really, really well, which is have a spot for 1,000 UF capacitor when you have a Vista in the rear. Although, that being said, all I would need to do is run a 30x30 flight controller on this rig above the 30x30 ESC, and then I would have this entire front area here for a capacitor. So, you know, this weirdness in finding a spot for the capacitor is because of the way that I've chosen to build this, and it's also partly because I'm putting it on such low standoffs. If you were to run this on 23mm standoffs, you could probably build it this way and then just put the capacitor up here above the flight controller, or like I said, just run a 30x30 flight controller on top of the ESC. Or 20x20 ESC, 20x20 flight controller in the middle if you want to keep the weight down a little bit. So yeah, you know, I have a very specific way that I want to build these, and that doesn't, yeah, that prevents a super easy location. But I got a couple options. I'm going to get it figured out. Worst case, I'll just put it up on 25mm standoffs and put the capacitor somewhere else. This capacitor is like already wired up, and it fits in these 3 little spots without me having to desolder it. So I'm trying my best to make it work in these spots where it's, you know, being a little bit lazy. But Metal Dirtskin says, no, we got that. Riot9 says, just don't crash. That's the solution. Just don't crash. Anybody that says just don't crash as a solution to, like, oh, the arm broke, call them names. Just don't crash is never, ever, ever the solution, ever. Brandon's Baked Bean says, last summer I had my Hexa tuned up way too tight, so much so that after I crashed, it shot into the sky. Yeah, it's in my opinion, it's never a great idea to have that like bleeding edge tune on your rig. You know, just don't crash just doesn't work. Because, you know, even if you're the best pilot in the world, there are unexpected things that could happen to cause you to crash. And when that inevitably happens, because it will, if your tune is too cranked up, you're going to have a bad day, and you could potentially hurt somebody or lose a rig. So don't do it, in my opinion. Leave your push your the way that I do it is I keep pushing the tune until the motors start to heat up, and then I take a big chunk out of it, like 10 points or 15 points out of everything, so that it's backed off significantly and there's a nice margin for error. And then you just monitor your motor temperatures as the rig gets more beat up, as the props get beat up, the frame gets beat up, the motor bells get beat up. If the motors start to heat up, you can just drop another 5 points off the tune and you'll be good to go. But usually, if you tune it to the point where the motors start getting hot and then take 10 to 15 points out of everything, usually that puts you in a perfect spot where you can bash the hell out of that rig and you'll be good to go. This is if you're on beta flight. If you're on KISS or Flight 1, you're not going to have that experience. You're going to have a way harder time. Emu Flight is nowhere near as bad as KISS or Flight 1, but it's also not quite as good as beta flight, mainly because it doesn't have RPM filtering, and RPM filters are incredible at tracking. They're good at hitting a moving target, and when you start to beat a rig up, it becomes a moving target. So yeah, the filtering in beta flight is a little bit better than Emu Flight. But the Emu Flight defaults are a little bit more aggressive than the beta flight defaults. So if you're terrified about, going into beta flight and adding 5 to a bunch of numbers, I don't know why you would be, but if you are afraid of math, then Emu Flight's defaults are, really, really good. So whatever you like, fly it. Beta flight has the most advanced, most sophisticated filtering, and, if you're willing to do a couple of seconds worth of math, you can take advantage of that, because that's really all you need to do. You go into the PIDs, there's a whole bunch of numbers there. You add 10 to all those numbers, you put it up in the air. If it's still too loose, you add another 10 to all those numbers. Usually by that point, you're good to go. D-min, you probably shouldn't add 10 to. You should probably add 5 to D-min. But everything else, P-gains, I-gains, D-gains, D-max, I should say, you just add 10 points and put it up in the air. If you go into beta flight on the defaults and you add 10 points to PI and D-max and 5 points to D-min, that'll pretty much take the beta flight PID tune to a very similar place to Emu Flight. Usually you can then do that again because the beta flight filtering is so good, and you can end up with a rig that's dialed in even better. That's kind of inexact, but a lot of times that is pretty true. So yeah, Emu Flight's great though, don't get me wrong. Emu Flight is great. They're just using a slightly older version of filtering. Beta Flight has more devs working on it, and they've been around for a lot longer. So yeah, go figure. They've been able to push the envelope a little bit farther and yeah, have some more sophisticated stuff. I'm really excited for the next version of Emu Flight though, because it's gonna have RPM filters, and that should be really good. So, they're getting there. It's a small team that works on Emu Flight. Brandon's Baked Beans. The reason why I'm talking about all this is because Brandon's Baked Beans works with the Emu Flight devs, and they're doing some really good stuff. It's just, there's not many of them, and there are many devs that work on the Beta Flight project. Reed in the Wind says, "What's up, Collective? What's up, CiottiFPV?" I had a call with Reed a little bit earlier. He's one of my Wednesday, scheduled every week calls. B-Man says, "What's up, fam?" Michael Blade says, "Hey." YouTube is doing the thing right before my eyes. There it is. Thanks, YouTube, you gigantic pain in the ass. CMYK says, "Oh, snap. How did the roll of Micro King stickers come out?" I forgot they shipped. They're good. They've got that die cut that I really dig, and they're bigger. I have these in the round variation, and they're cool, but there's really no reason for it to be round. These I really dig. This is super rad. If you need graphic design done and you go to anyone other than CMYK, I will hunt you down and beat you with a goddamn metal folding chair. So don't do it, because, I don't want to go to jail. Don't make me do it. Yeah, CMYK is a great guy and an amazing graphic designer. He's done a whole bunch of the newer designs and logos that I've got, and every single one of them has just been amazing. Okay, Metal Dirtskin says, if you said what stack is going in there, I forgot. But if it's a tall one, it'll be a struggle. Ask me how I know. Yeah, I think Metal Dirtskin is talking about the Toothfairy 2. There is only a 15 millimeter build height, which scares me a little bit. One of the first things that we're going to do is see if this flight controller and ESC combo will clear this deck height. If it won't, what I'll probably do is order a Darwin stack from FPV Cycle's website, which is 25 by 25. It's a really good stack though. So it's a separate ESC and flight controller. Yeah, we'll see. I hope I can make this work, but it kind of depends on where the different tall elements of the flight controller are going to sit, and how I can sort of Jenga them with the ESC. So we'll be looking at that soon enough. Blinda Binda says there are little things better than getting unexpected FPV or car parts. There are. Not many, but there are. Right, 9 says, first step, jack up your quad. That's a joke from Mighty Car Mods. Dan 636 says, thanks bro, love the collective. We love you right back, Dan. B-Man says, I had a productive flying day, broke a lot of shit, but my GoPros lived. That's a win. That's a W in my book. Yeah, for real. Squints FPV is in the house. What's going on, Adam? He says, might be listening in too because I got my, because I get my digital goggles tomorrow. Very cool. Digital goggles as in DJI, or are you doing HD0? Arazi B says, for now, don't upgrade the goggles. Give the underground a bit to figure out the best course of action. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I do have a set of V1 goggles, though, and they're not affected, so I can definitely do something with them. I don't know. We'll figure it out on Saturday. Rob Exison says, yes, I can use the Whoop parts. I can repair one of my wife's classroom Whoops. She uses them in her classroom. Awesome, Rob. Love it. Rusty Signal's in the house as well. All the local Atlanta folks are in here tonight. What's going on, Rusty? He says, what's up, Ciotti? Scroll. B-Man says, standoffs keeping you up at night? Now that's dedication. Yeah. It's funny. It actually, I was thinking about it because of the standoffs, but what I was really just thinking about is like what I'm going to use the rig for, because by the end of the stream last night, what I'd kind of decided is that I was going to do the 5.5-inch dead cat arms on this rig, so that I could compare 5.5-inch props to the super pitchy 5-inch props on the Imperial 2506 motors. But what I kind of realized is that I've already played that game with these Brother Hobby 2507 motors, and they just are not big enough stator volume wise for the 5.5-inch props. So yeah, and I'm really happy with the Gemfan 5152 props. They are goddamn animals. Look at these things. Look at that. They're just bananas. So much pitch, so much blade. These props just haul all the ass. And you know, them being 5-inch, they just, I don't know, they just really work. And for a high-speed rig, it's all about pitch. If you do a little bit of research on propeller pitch on the internet, yeah, there's a very interesting relationship between the amount of pitch that a propeller has and the speed that it can go. You can take a low pitch prop and you can just keep spinning it faster and faster and faster, and you will get some small gains, but a more pitchy prop is always going to perform better in the situation. That it's all about the speed of the air coming in to the propeller, and when you start to want to go faster, extra pitch really helps. Basically, so that when the air is coming, the air is going to come in when you're going 80, 90, 100 miles an hour, the air is coming in going 100 miles an hour. So if you have more pitch, more angle, it's going to be much more efficient in being able to move that air versus less pitch, just railing at a billion RPM at a shallower angle, trying to grab a little bit of air, a little bit of air, a little bit of air. It's almost, you can almost think of it as having a low pitch prop and then spinning it harder RPM wise is almost like having less blades versus having more pitch is almost like adding, well, no, I'm sorry. Low pitch prop at a higher RPM is similar to adding more blades. And when you add more blades, there's inefficiency in doing that. So at the higher speeds, adding more pitch actually helps with efficiency. Do your own research. It's really fascinating stuff to read about. Keep in mind that the research that you're going to, and the info that you're going to find is talking about airplane propellers, which are a slightly different situation because they're vertical the whole time. So they just get nice clean airflow coming straight into them. Whereas with us, our propellers start off like this and then we put the nose down. So we've got a weird setup. We've got air coming in at a weird angle. But when we're talking about 80, 90, 100 miles an hour, we're stood the fuck up. We are like up here. We are 50, 60, 70 degrees of up tilt. So it almost becomes like for airplane propellers. B-Man says, that's what I do. 30 by 30 stack, and I run a cap in front with a waffle cap and the wires to the back. Yeah, there'll be 2 rigs that I've got that are going to have that same setup. Chomper FPV's in the house. His comment just got buried. There it is. What props are you flying on your 5-inch rigs? Chomper, I'm doing on the freestyle rigs, I still like the Gemfan 5143 threes. They're the best mix of durability, lightweight, flight performance. Yeah. The F3S and F4S by Gemfan are slightly better than the HQ versions of those ultra lightweight props, S3, S4, the peanut butter and jellies, the P1s, whatever the hell, HQ just kind of puts out an awful lot of props. The Gemfan versions of those ultralight props are definitely a little bit better than the HQs, but they're all too lightweight and too fragile for me, for how hard I crash, for what I crash into, and for my threshold of how often I change propellers out. So yeah, the 5143-3 Gemfans are my personal favorites, but propellers are a fiercely independent thing. Like, everybody crashes differently and has different tastes, and everybody has a little bit of a different cruising speed, faster versus slower, for example. So yeah, the best thing that you can do to dial your rig in is to buy a ton of different propellers and just see which ones you like the best. They're cheap and they make the biggest difference in the way that your rig flies. So buy tons of props, fly them all. You'll find one that you like better. Pay attention though. It's not just how they fly. It's how they crash. It's how they bend back. It's all these things. Unless you never bend props back. There's people that after every single crash, they take all the props off and change them all. That ain't me. I don't got time for that. I bend them back straight, throw it back up in the air, and the 5143s do an amazing job of that. They're just, they keep me in the air for longer. Film MacGyver says, what's up? Wam FPV's in the house. He says, always trying to beat a mofo with a household item. Mr. Huggy says, evening. You could put the flight controller on one 20x20 and the ESC on the other 20x20. What are we talking about, Huggy? We talking about the Toothfairy 2? I'm going to be putting a Vista in the back. So the Vista is going to take up the entire rear 20x20 spot. So I have to do the stack up front. Definitely not doing an AIO on this. AIOs can go to hell forever. License to Drive says from from getting in contact with Brain 3D because I saw them on your live stream last night. It looks like they'll be carrying some of my print designs. Very, very cool, License. Congrats, man. That is well deserved. I love that. Yeah, Brain 3D has offered to sponsor me. They sent me a whole bunch of really nice stuff as like a little welcome care package. They even Brian even did a little custom Insta360 Go 2 mount that I'm really excited for. Great company. I've been buying Brain 3D stuff forever, and yeah, super happy to be a one of their sponsored pilots. So yeah, if you need 3D printed stuff, head on over to Brain 3D. Even if you have, I know a lot of guys that have their own 3D printers, but they still get stuff from Brain 3D because like the quality is just absurd. I mean, like Brian is just, this is a, oh, for heaven's sake, this is a prototype, and it's still like just gorgeous. His machines are absolutely dialed, and then his designs, you know, like he does all of his own designs. And they're fantastic because he's done lots of designs. You know, sure, there's a bunch of designs on Thingiverse, but they're made by every Tom, Dick, and Harry that may or may not know what they're doing. You know, Brian does this for a living. So the way that he designs his prints, they work extremely well. So, yeah. Treat yourself! And leave a note that says CiottiFPV is the man. Ben Markham says, glad to see frame getting used for something awesome as always. Keep it up, man. Oh yeah, that's right, Ben. Ben is who sold me the this Toothfairy 2, and actually a fresh in the package Toothfairy 2. I haven't opened this because there's a chance that, I don't know, something about this build won't work right or be what I'm looking for. So I'm going to get this build done, and then I'll figure out if I want to build a second one. There's a chance that I'll replace one of the Cinesplorers with a Toothfairy 2, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm very happy with the Cinesplorers, if I'm completely honest. The N636, I'm all out of order now. Fenbot says, how come you and Bardwell give different opinions on pushers and the importance of low and high pressure zones? You disagree with each other on that topic, I believe. I doubt that we disagree on the topic because it's just kind of physics. And so I had an understanding of pushers versus pullers. But before I really started talking about it a couple of months ago on stream, I linked up with Chris Rosser. Him and I have been talking on Discord ever since like early days of him putting out like his first video, just to kind of check myself. And I talked to Chris, and he confirmed what, you know, I've been saying. I think where the difference in Joshua and I talking about it is probably that the low pressure zone above the propeller is what's important, period. That's just the way it is. But with quads, by doing a pusher design, you can put a bigger propeller under there typically for the same size rig, and a bigger propeller will have better a slightly better efficiency. So it's a little bit of a sliding scale. When you're talking about 2-inch rigs, the pusher design, the amount of bracing required above the propellers on a 2-inch rig in order for that frame to be stiff enough impedes a ton of the airflow, and you end up with a rig that is not efficient at all, and it's very, very, very loud. If you scale that up to 2.5-inch or 3-inch, the situation is a lot better. So a 2.5-inch, a 3-inch, a 3.5-inch pusher rig actually flies pretty good. I'm not into those. Like that's not my thing. I'm focused on building a 2-inch rig, and I've tried the pusher thing, and it's just not as efficient. So there's a little bit of subtlety in there, but a puller rig is always going to be more efficient if it's the same propeller diameter. But there are other challenges, such as like basically packaging. You know, with a puller rig, if you want to have the propellers get really close together so that you don't make the rig really wide, where are you going to put stuff? You know, like this rig is an example of that. Like, you got to put everything in the center. And then the other thing that happens when you do that is you run into a situation where the top of the duct can become in view. So you got to be careful, like how far back or how far forward you put your HD camera. When you flip that frame upside down and you have it as a pusher, you can see, like, the camera. You think about the field of view on the camera. The field of view on the camera is going to skirt the duct a lot easier. So there's a lot more to it than just, you know, it's easy to just say that a puller design is more efficient. Done. Right? Like, that's easy to say, and that's true. That is absolutely true. All things being equal, a puller design is going to be more efficient and give you better flight characteristics. But there's more to it than that, because we're dealing with more than just flight characteristics, right? We're dealing with field of view. We're dealing with center of gravity, right? Like on a puller design like this, you've got to push the camera fairly far forward so that you don't get the sharp top of the duct in view. Well, when you do that, now you're pushing the center of gravity forward, and that's not great for flight characteristics. So a pusher is going to have, you know, an advantage there in that you don't have to push the camera as far forward, so you can tuck the center of gravity in farther. Well, there's ways around that. You move the camera up so that when the camera is low, the field of view might be hitting the ducts, but if you move the camera up, the field of view might clear the ducts. That's why this mount that Brian from Brain 3D designed for me has the Insta360 Go standing up vertical. We can take advantage of the form factor of the Go 2 and stand it up vertically and get the front of these ducts out of view. So there's you can. It's just not clear cut. There are, and then the other problem is there's all different rigs. You know, like the Gep RC pusher might fly great, but then the Flywoo pusher might fly like a bag of smashed assholes. So there's a lot of different things going on. For me, again, I'm trying to do this with a 2-inch propeller, and the 2-inch pushers, they're just not good because, like I said earlier, there's a bunch of bracing that like covers up a whole bunch of that propeller because it's so small, and it just doesn't seem to work all that well. So for my specific application, as light as possible, as quiet as possible, in my opinion, this puller setup could potentially be the way to go. But yeah, it's shades of gray. It's not black or white. Neither Joshua or I are correct about this. But again, you know, I had this whole conversation with Chris Rosser, and he's who really made me. I didn't think of the fact that with a pusher configuration you can run bigger propellers. That was the big aha moment for me in my conversation with Rosser about pusher versus puller. And yeah, so like, again, in this example, if I were to go up to a pusher, I would need to go up to a 2.5-inch propeller. And in this case, it would be bigger, it would be heavier. The thing I'm trying to do is keep the weight down because I'm trying to keep the noise down. Extra weight means extra thrust means extra noise. So it's, you know, it's in the end, you've got a big list of priorities, and depending on where these different items are in that priority list, that's how you're going to figure out what configuration works better for you. For me, top of the list is lightweight and noise. Those are really high up in the list of priorities. And in order to do those two things, you need the lightest weight possible. That means the smallest propeller, the smallest frame possible. And well, yeah, that's pretty much it. You need to be as light as possible. So if that doesn't make a difference, if you don't care about the noise side of things, then maybe a pusher is a better option for you, because you can go to a 2.5-inch or a 3-inch prop. And there are a lot of other benefits to 2.5-inch and 3-inch props. There's a really good reason that 2-inch props are pretty rare, and that there aren't many 2-inch rigs out there. It's kind of a difficult size. You know, Cinewhoops pull off a magic trick in that there's nothing above the propellers. You know, there's no obstruction, so they get away with sort of murder in having a lot of efficiency up there on top of the props to offset the fact that they have such teeny tiny little propellers. So yeah, it's a really interesting. This is the kind of stuff that I love the most in FPV. This little dance of like, you know, this setup does this thing better, but this setup does this other thing better. Well, which one does which thing a little bit better than the other, and then but it's never cut and dry like that. There's a dozen different things, and you got to just like find this balance between all of them. That's what I really love with these builds, and that's what I have such a fun time with, like trying to figure out the perfect configuration for. Really good question, dude. Am I caught up from up here? I got all out of order. Den636 says, speaking of props, what do you think about the Luminaire Gatebreaker props? Stay away at all costs, Dan. All of the Luminaire props, which are basically just the Gatebreakers and the Gatebreaker and Buttercutter, both of those propellers have a resonant frequency to the blades, and at certain cruising RPMs, the propellers themselves will start to ring and oscillate. Not to mention that they're a very heavy propeller, they're super pitchy, and they're not all that efficient. The Luminaire props are old school. Those props were like acceptable 4 or 5 years ago, but the propeller technology has grown in leaps and bounds since then. So yeah, they have some cool colors and they have a cool look to them. So for a wall quad, maybe. Or you know what else they're good for? If you're running popo, they're some of the only push-on, push-off propellers that don't spin on the hub, because they're made by the same company that created popo. So those are really the only fringe cases where those Luminaire props are any good, in my opinion. I tried to make them work because they are so pitchy. I tried to get them going on this high-speed rig, and they were just a complete nightmare. The Gemfan 5152s are miles ahead in terms of efficiency, thrust, speed, balance, everything. Jack Lanois says, how are you liking DJI? I haven't used it yet, but it is nice to build with it. That's all I've really done with it so far. Chomper says, oh yay, welcome to the Brain 3D team, love his prints. I get crossfire receivers and ND filter from him too. Yeah, Brain 3D has some unique stuff on their website. It's not just 3D prints, so check them out. They've got some good stuff. I don't have an affiliate link. He doesn't have an affiliate program, but yeah, just throw CiottiFPV sent me in the notes, and then he'll know that his new boy is talking about him. Athix says the Veyron has been nice. That's good to hear. I've been wondering how that frame is. Fenbot says, I appreciate it. Yeah, I keep hearing Bardwell praising pushers, and I know you didn't like them, so I was wondering. Thanks, man. Yeah, the bigger, like I said, the bigger pushers are great. The 3-inch, the 3.5-inch, those pushers fly great. I still don't like them, to be honest. I don't like the propeller down that low, because when you land, it's like all up in the ground, and like I just don't like that configuration, but there are definitely some advantages to it, that's for sure. FPV Trucker says, just finished watching your marathon stream from last night. You're back on. Good job, homie. Thanks, dude. Then 636 says, good thing they were given to me. Chris says, can you glue TPU? You can, but melting it is an even better option. Take a little $3 gas station torch, or just a Bic lighter, to be honest, and you can nail the TPU with fire, and it'll, when it's being 3D printed, it's the nozzle makes it really hot, and then squirts it up against some other TPU that's hot, and then they mold together or whatever. You can do the same thing with a lighter, and it works incredibly well. So yeah, don't use glue. Use fire. And I mean, you know, who doesn't want to play with fire? We are men after all, right? We would light our houses on fire if there weren't serious financial consequences. Let's build! I'm caught up with chat. When you melt it back together, it stays nice and flexible too, which is really nice. If you were to glue it, it would be brittle, a brittle thing. It's the technical term, a brittle thing. The man says. All right, friends, or your soldering iron. Yeah, that works. I like fire though. Fire seems to get the heat in between a little bit better than the soldering iron. Using a soldering iron tends to like just melt the outside together. A little torch or a Bic lighter will like penetrate some of the heat into it to get the full thickness of the layers to moosh. There's the real technical term there, moosh. There's a snowball's chance in hell of us getting this build done tonight. For the record, it is 9 o'clock already, and I'm just now taking the ESC out of the package. It's kind of a waste to use this nice of an ESC on a build like this, but this is a rig that is going to get used for work on sets, and in that scenario there is no such thing as like an electronic component that's too good. There's a little sacrifice in weight, but it's okay for the love of and the need of reliability. So for the record, if you're building a Cinewhoop just to have fun, you can get like one of the much cheaper, much lighter weight micro, you know, like an ESC that you would normally use on like a 3-inch micro. You can use one of those and it'll work totally fine. But in my case, I'm sort of future-proofing to some extent. So we're going to do an Acon ESC here, and then we're actually also going to do an Acon flight controller. This flight controller was sent over by T-Bird. He knew that it would be a good fit for DJI. It's one of the Acon HD flight controllers, which has a little plug header here to plug directly into the Vista. The only possible chance that we have of getting this thing done tonight is if by some miracle this Vista that I think T-Bird also sent over has this plug already on it. And I think that I'm just going to be able to go like this. And my VTX will be all good to go. I'm still going to have to wire up a crossfire, which is going to take some time. But yeah, just being able to is sure to cut down the amount of time taken here. So we'll see. We'll see. There's still absolutely no chance that I'm going to get this done tonight, to be completely honest with you guys. But, you know, that's okay. CMYK says, what ESC are you using? Steve FPV says, is RPM filtering still a thing you would use with 4.3? Hearing difference in opinions. Thanks. Definitely, Steve. There might... So what we might see is instead of using the 3 harmonics on the RPM filtering, it's starting to look like using 1 harmonic is going to be a better bet with it. And then using the new dynamic filtering in 4.3 to cover everything else. That it's starting to look like that might be the hotness. Basically because the first mode, the main motor band harmonic that that the first RPM filtering harmonic is going to take care of. That's like 98% of the of what we want to filter out. The second and third harmonics like pale in comparison. So yeah. then so we've got these second and third harmonics on the RPM filter that are working hard but not netting us much benefit, and that's where the dynamic filters can potentially come in. So I think we're going to see a little bit of a shift in the way that we filter in 4.3, but the RPM filters, from what I've seen, definitely still are the ultimate hotness. It just, yeah, I mean, it just works really, really well for the application, which is a motor that changes RPM. That's one of the easiest ways to think about it, right? All of the other filtering is audio filtering. Audio is coming out of speakers in waves. It's not coming out of speakers in rotations. RPM filtering is based around rotations. So any and all, well, not any and all, but the majority of the vibrations that are going to come from your motor, well, no, yeah, all of the vibrations that are going to come out of your motors and your propellers are RPM based. You know what I mean? It has to be. That's the spinning is what's creating those vibrations. So having a filter that can read and react to the RPMs is like kind of cheating. You know what I mean? Like that's just a better setup than any of these audio waveform based filters. But that being said, you know, the spinning is what causes the rotation, but then it's what causes the vibration, but then the vibration itself is a wave. So that's what the dynamic filter is going to then target, because yeah, it's basically an audio filter. So having the RPM filters there with a good waveform based, I guess we could call it, filter certainly seems like the best bet, right? Because the first harmonic of the RPM filter is going to take care of all of that data from the RPM, and then any other vibrations such as frame resonance, you know, the frame resonance is not coming from the rotating assembly. That can get handled by the dynamic filters. So yeah, RPM filters are magic, though. They work really, really, really well. And when you think about like what's actually going on in the rig, it just makes a lot of sense. You know what I mean? And just like that, we're caught up on chat. Oh yeah. You guys are talking Sims in the chat. Look at you go. All right. We've got the hardware almost freed up here. That's going to hold the Vista in. And then I'll be able to pop this top plate off. No, looks like I got a couple more screws up front. But yeah, we're going to pop this top plate off, and then we're just going to test fit this ESC and flight controller and take a look if there's any way that I can get these to fit in a 15 millimeter build height. Now that I'm getting all handsy with this thing, I have a feeling that I'm going to be doing another FPV cycle order. I have a funny feeling that I'm going to need to get that Darwin stack. But that's okay. It's a really good quality ESC and flight controller, and that's exactly what I want for this rig. This 20x20 ESC will find a home in a glide, which will be great. It'll be nice and lightweight. I mean, what I'll actually do is I'll take this little combo here, and I'll put it into a glide. Oh, I mangled the camera earlier. Let me put it back where it belongs. Sorry, guys. Didn't even realize it. Yeah, these two right here will be excellent in a glide. It'll bring the weight down a little bit rather than 30x30, and yeah, they're both Acons, so they'll probably be completely indestructible, which I need on the glides because they get the hell beaten out of them. Okay, so here We are. Let's see if a 2020 stack. There are 20 by 20 stacks that will definitely fit under a 15 millimeter build height. My old combination of Speedix GS25 with Maytech F411, that was a combo that would have a 13 millimeter build height. So I know that it can be done, but I'm starting to doubt this ESC being able to get it done because it's got that big tall heat shield on it. I could technically pull that heat shield off, especially because this is just going to be a Cinewhoop, but I'm not going down that road. I'm not playing that game. That's a terrible game. Because it's like adhesived on, and I don't want to lift any components. Pretty sure I won't be able to just like pop this off. And yeah, I don't want to be pulling up on any of these components. I guess if I like hit it with a bunch of heat, the adhesive would probably chill out a little bit, but I don't know. This is a perfectly good ESC. I'm not going to go screwing around with it and run the risk of jacking it up. So, all right. So the first issue with getting this stack slammed down enough is these press nuts here that are preventing me from getting this thing really low. So realistically, that is as low as I'm going to be able to get it. And then this guy can sit right... Nope, this ain't going to happen. Nope. Not going to happen. If I flip this over... Oh, man. Okay. Well, so one of the other options is... So these press nuts here are hitting on like the outside there. If you look at the shape of this heat shield, it kind of tapers off, so I can flip it over. And that's going to allow it to sit a little bit lower. But the problem is this ESC does not have motor pads on both sides. So what I need to account for is the fact that there's going to be motor wires soldered up to these pads here. And then that is going to get too close to this press nut here. So I don't think that's really going to gain me any build height. Plus then the motor plug is going to be facing down. I'm going to have to run race wires, which is fine. I like running them anyway. So not the complete end of the world, but let's just see here. Oh yeah, that ain't gonna work. Even with it slammed all the way down, it's just this is a tight frame. Yeah. I mean, without battery straps, maybe it would work, but the battery straps are going to be right on top of some stuff. Well, not the rear one's going to be fine, but see, the front battery strap is going to be right on top of the ESC plug header, and yeah, I mean, I could probably get it. I could probably make it happen, but there's going to be zero clearance between the top board and the bottom board, and they're both going to be on rubber grommets, which gives them a little bit of movement. So on a hard hit, there's a chance they could smack together. and yeah, you don't want them to be that close. Like slamming, slammed builds are fun and all, but you don't want your ESC and flight controller to be as close together as this is going to need to be. So that's balls. That's yeah. Let's go to FPV cycle. Take a look at that. Take a look at that stack. It is in stock. 120 bucks for a flight controller and ESC is actually not all that bad nowadays. Let me check the build. I can't possibly imagine that this won't work. Bob specifically designed this to have a very low stack height. But just for the... That's why this ESC looks so weird. You know, the ESC has all this stuff on the bottom, but then look at the top. The top has this big blank area so that this flight controller can slam down nice and low on it. And what I do really also like about this is that Bob has spent a lot of time finding an electronics manufacturer that can produce really good quality stuff with really good noise profiles. He went through that exercise with the toothpicks because they have a really hard time with that. So, yeah. I love that he's kind of gone through that. Tell me the build height. I don't know why I'm even looking this up. I know that this is going to work. But I am kind of curious. Didn't somebody in the chat say that they needed to buy this 20 minutes ago to get it to clear with this same exact frame? Flight controller does have black box. That's fantastic. What's the I wonder what the gyro is. It doesn't call out a gyro here. I wonder if it's an MPU 6000. After seeing Rosser's testing of the different gyros, though, I'm a lot less obsessed with MPU 6000. Let's go to rotor builds and see if there are any Toothfairies with that stack in them. One of the things that I'm curious about is what to do about a capacitor. Alright, so what's this? That's an AIO. That's not happening. The easy button would be to build this with an AIO, but then it would be the worst. So we're not doing that. That's not a Toothfairy. Oh, Toothfairy 1. Oh, wait, no. So I can just do this. And then this is my favorite feature. Oh, there's only 2 builds on here. Okay. Damn it. That's on an AIO as well. I think, right? Yeah, it's an AIO as well. Oh. Look at that capacitor there, though. Oh, look at that. Wow. I can't believe that capacitor fits there. Oh, yeah, I guess I can. Because the stack is shifted forward. Oh, very cool. Very cool. Okay, so that's where the capacitor is going to go. That's awesome. What's going on there? What? Why is that at a 45? Oh, because it's not a... Is this an analog build? Oh no, this is HD0, isn't it? No, it's not. This is an analog build. Oh, that's wacky. I'm glad it's not just me. Oh, cool. Look at you, whoever you are. Who is this? Too many Legos. Look at you doing an analog build in a DJI specific frame. Okay. 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 Athix says, is stacks a tax write-off? LOL for the loss. Very much so, yeah. Interesting. Yeah, look at that. Rush Tiny Tank. Huh. Okay. I don't hate it. I'm down. Athix says, have you seen the FPV cycle cap diode they started to sell? I did. I ordered 2 of them last night on the live stream. So let's take another look at this one here from Noah Like the Ark. Oh my god, he's got those 8 blades on there. Oh, he's got the big old 23mm motors. Okay. So yeah, this is much more like what... oh, he's got the... I have this exact same antenna too. Very cool. How's he got that mounted? Oh, he's got that mounted in the... Oh, cool. In the little mount that it comes with. Oh, that's good. I like that. Alright. Wait, there's 2 little mounts. Oh, yeah, they're the same thing. Okay, cool. So, alright, that's... I dig that. So yeah, it's on an AIO. That Darwin stack will perform way, way, way better. Oh, look, he's got the capacitor like that. That's interesting. And then he's got his wires running up over the top. That's pretty cool. 273 dry. 598 all up. Jesus, why is it so heavy? 598. What? Oh, it's a big battery. Big battery. This battery probably weighs twice as much as the 4S850s. And these are big motors too. Okay. I see you. Man, I really wanted to get this thing knocked out tonight. I did not realize that this that it's so slammed. My God, 15 millimeters. 15mm build height. Good lord. Jesus. Yeah, I mean, the only other Acrodog, there's actually a really good spot for the capacitor behind the stack that I just noticed on the other rotor builds. Oh, where did this guy put his oh, he put it off on the side there. Now this here, look, this other rotor build, he's got the capacitor where I'm gonna put it, which is right behind here. That's a big capacitor too. I'll probably run a little bit of a smaller one. Hell, maybe I'll run one of those new ones that's coming. But yeah, this is perfect. This is a perfect little spot. Bob obviously thought about that and left this spot here for it. I could probably squeeze a little one in up in the front, but I like this much better. And when you look at the frame, you can see like he pushed the stack mounting forward to specifically to give a spot for the capacitor here. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. You know, it's funny, I'm gonna end up building this almost identical to the way that that Bob would like it to be built, which that's funny because I typically don't do that. Like Bob and I don't argue about it, but like, you know, I have a set of components that I'm pretty like locked in on, and you know, that's unique to me. Bob has a different set of components that he's, you know, either created or is in love with. So we talk shit a little bit back and forth of like why, like every once in a while he'll say to me like, why don't you just build it the way that I've set it up? And I'm like, because usually the answer is because Acon ESCs are better. So yeah. There's another. Dad, do you have two YouTube accounts? You're now logged into a different YouTube account. You okay? GrizzFPV says, I thought he designed that frame around an AIO. Sorta. Bob found the hard limit of AIOs a while back in terms of power, and that's when he started to create this Darwin stack. And he specifically designed this ESC all weird like on the top here, so that this stack together are extremely flat, but have much better noise. But they have a much better noise profile, I guess you could call it, having the ESC on a completely separate PCB from the flight controller. So this should absolutely work. But I can't find a stack height on it, so I'm just gonna... I signed out. Okay. I'm gonna make this one a moderator as well, Ted. Alright, now you're gonna light up in blue on both. Let me make sure I'm not showing my screen. Okay, I'm not showing my screen. I don't necessarily want you guys to see the entire conversation that Bob and I have had, because we be talking some shit every once in a while. Neither one of us pull any punches, so like if a piece of gear is garbage, the both of us will be like, ah, trashed, garbage, idiots. Yo, bro, will your Darwin stack clear the 15 millimeter build height of the Toothfairy 2? I thought I was gonna be able to get this 20 by 20 stack in there on the stream right now, but it won't fit. That's what she said. It's not just... doesn't just happen on streams, guys. Dan636 says that Darwin stack is a 20 by 20, would be perfect for the Micro Apex. It's not a 20 by 20, it's actually Cinewhoop dimensions, 25 by 25. Man, it's nice when keystrokes work. Yeah, here you go. This is a unique stack for the demands of the industry today. It has 25.5 by 25.5 M2 whoop mounting pattern, because there are now many frames that are designed with that pattern, including all frames from FPV Cycle. Yeah, this is really, like, not many people know about this stack. This is not very expensive, all things considered, for the quality. This is being manufactured by Darwin, which Kebab spent a lot of time shopping around different manufacturers for electronics. This is a pretty underrated stack. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this stack is one of, if not the best, that's available at the moment. I'm basing that solely off of my trust of Kebab. But, you know, I've been friends with the guy for a bunch of years, and he is a very unique person in this world, right? Like, he has a big budget because he's a dentist. He doesn't care about making any money off of FPV because he's a dentist. It's kind of the perfect situation, right? Like, you've got somebody with the capital that only cares about quality, and, like, he's not a sponsored pilot. He doesn't really have sponsored pilots. Like, there's nothing about Bob that makes him care about, like, the things that everybody else cares about, right? Making money, being able to eat, you know? So like when he has something made, it's spared no expense, and then he sells it like barely above cost. Like the money that FPV stuff, the money that Kebab makes from FPV stuff just basically has to keep the website up and keep I forget the name of the guy that works for him, but it's got to pay his salary, but it doesn't have to pay Bob's salary, you know? Like, I hate to pick on RDQ, but they're an easy target. You know, Tyler from RDQ, he's in like South Carolina buying like apparently like hundreds of acres of land. So, you know, all like he's making money off of FPV in order to do that. You know what I mean? So like he's not a manufacturer, but like, you know what I mean? It's, and these companies that manufacture stuff, they've got 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, I don't know, employees. They've got a ton of mouths to feed. Like FPV Cycle is a very unique kind of thing. And yeah, when you spend $50, Josh, that's it. Thank you, Athix. When you spend $50 on something at FPV Cycle, you're getting like $40 worth of stuff. Whereas with a normal manufacturer, if you spend $50, you're getting $25 worth of stuff or less. So yeah, it's super interesting. We're unbelievably lucky to have Bob. You know what I mean? Like, there's nobody else that's like that. There's nobody else that's that has that same setup, and it's kind of great. So yeah, that's why I talk about FPV Cycle all the time. That's why I've been so happy with the quality of everything that I've gotten from them. You know, and I feel like we're kind of sleeping on them to some extent. Not really, though, because everything is sold out, which means that everybody knows about them. Hold on, I'm getting caught up on chat, friends. License to Drive says, for Bob, FPV is pure hobby. Sounds like me and my 3D prints for quads. I give them out freely. I make them because I enjoy making them. Yeah, it's a perfect way to put it, License. CMYK equals... CMYK says, Darwin Stacksword, you better not have gotten the last one, you bastard. Athix says, FPV Cycle has almost gone bankrupt a few times for us. Yeah, very true. Very, very, very true. When Bob puts out a product that ends up having... So, Bob's Motors, he shopped around a bunch of different manufacturers, and he landed on Brother Hobby. Brother Hobby sent him a whole bunch of prototype motors that were fantastic. Well, then when Bob did a full order of those motors from Brother Hobby, they manufactured them differently than the prototypes and didn't say anything. And they decreased the quality. And that's why Bob's motors were having all of those desync issues. Well, instead of Bob just going, oh, it sucks for you guys. Hey, V2 motors coming out. Replace all your V1s because they sure sucked. Sucks to be you. He didn't do that. He had them fixed and mailed out probably thousands of replacement motors to people. Who does that? Like, anywhere in the world, who ever does that in 2022? No, right? Like, nobody ever does that, ever. That's unheard of. And yeah, so he really puts himself out there and does right by us. And yeah, it has cost him tens of thousands of dollars on multiple occasions because he's been screwed over. Basically, it's because he's been screwed over by these manufacturers. So yeah. I'm not gonna get into RC and Power, Athix. The Brother Hobby situation is way more public than the than the RC and Power situation. Here's what I'll say about RC and Power. RC and Power is who made the the aerolights for Tommy. And many of us are familiar with some of the issues with those aerolights. So, but the FPV cycle RC and power situation, I'm not. I also don't have the whole story on that. I've talked to Bob at length about the Brother Hobby situation. I've not talked to him about RC and power. So I'm not gonna. Yeah. Dan636 says, I wonder what company manufactures the FPV cycle motors. I actually don't know at the moment. But even if I did know, Bob probably wouldn't want me to tell you. So I would respect that. Still tight, but yes. Awesome. With room for a capacitor behind it and in front of the Vista. All right, awesome. Okay, so the Toothfairy 2 build is going to have to go on hold. We've talked a bunch about it. We've spec'd some things out. So we did a little something here tonight. Yeah. Yeah. This build is it's just gonna have to go on hold. Let me spec out as much as I can possibly spec out with it, though. Everyone's favorite thing to obsess over, which is colors. Let's think about that. Let's think about what color we're gonna do the arm LEDs. So, if the motor is sitting here, this is a regular 20mm long race light. That's going to be too long. This is a mounting. This is where the inside of the duct mounts, and the LED race wires are too wide to fit in that little gap. So the race wire has to end a little bit forward of those two holes. So we can't use these race lights. But luckily, Flywoo makes 15mm long race wires, and those are the ones that I use on micros, and that should be just about perfect. It's going to end right here. I'm going to break this part off. So let me bust out my my Flywoo 15mm long arm LEDs, and we will use those to figure out a color scheme for the Toothfairy 2 once the Darwin comes in. I think those are all. Yeah, that's all of them. All right. And okay, so what do we got here? We've got these are white. These are white. We've got green, red, blue. Wow, I've got all the colors. Look at me go. So on the Cinesplores, what do I have on the Cinesplores? I've got, what's this one? Is this one pink or is this one white? That one's green. The one Cinesplore is green, so I'm not going to do green. We already did that. Robox says Dremel tool. I have these all turned off with electric tape on top of them, but maybe I can see it shine through on the edges. Let's take a look. Where's that 4S battery at from yesterday? There it is. Is it? See if I can see. Man, not really. Jesus. Jesus, I taped over those really good. Okay, let's peel off a little bit of this tape here, and then I should be able to see this one up on the corner. Come on. There we go. Okay, I think these are pink, but I didn't even know that Flywoo made these in pink. All right, now we'll be able to see. Why is that one not working? Well, that's weird. What's your deal, little bro? Are the startup beats talking about? Are the startup beeps? Wow, my mouth is disobeying. Are the startup beeps not enough to light this up? There we go. Let's do this. We're going to get the tiniest bit sketchy here. Let's just come into Betaflight and spin up motor number 2. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. I'm going to do it with the up arrows. Yeah, it's pink. There it is. Okay. Wow, like I said, I totally forgot that Flywoo does these in pink. That's pretty cool. Easy, easy. Take it easy. All right, so we've got a pink Cinewhoop. We've got a green Cinewhoop. That means this one is either going to be red or... Wait, maybe this one's... No, this is red. Yeah. So it's going to be either red, white, or blue. I'm thinking. Athix says, I wonder who manufactures Zing, if it's done in-house or third-party. That's a good question right there. Rob Oxison says, LED question. Is there rating about what LED race wire can carry? Can I use micro LEDs on a full-size build? Good question, Rob. Yes, there is. When you buy ARM LEDs, there will be a 1S to 4S or 2S to 6S rating on them that you do want to pay attention to. So yeah, be careful with that. The really small ARM LEDs will not go beyond 4S. So if you run 6S on them, they'll work for a little bit, but they'll take a beating and then they'll blow up. So don't do that. Let me just put the tape back over this ARM LED. And all right, cool. That should be fully turned off. Yeah, that looks good. Oh, nope. That ain't it. That's not the one. That's the one. There it is. Okay. Get some good pressure on that. Stay stuck, little buddy. Stay stuck. Okay. So the I'm gonna go red. I think I've got three different. Up tilt pieces of TPU here. Violet in 10 degree, black in 20 degree, red in 30 degree. Right? Yeah, red is 30. So this one, and my existing Cinewhoops, one of them is a 5 degree up tilt, the other one is a 15 degree up tilt. So for this one, I'm going to do this one 30. And what I like to do a lot of times on the 30 degree rigs, the fastest version of a rig that I've got, I'll make it red. You know, red, speed, Ferrari, hot, whatever. So I think I'll do red on this one, although blue would be super cool. Definitely not doing green. Already have the one rig with green. Could do like red. Nah, let's go red. We're gonna go red with this one. Next one we'll do in blue. Come on. There we go. All right, so, you know, we got that really important piece of decision making. Muchas gracias, Rob Axelson says. We've got that really important bit of decision making done. So we got something done. I can even break these apart. And, well, we can do some tinning, I guess. We can tin some of this stuff up. Get some of the mundane work out of the way. Wait a second. I mean, I could actually mount the motors and the arm LEDs to the arms. I could totally do that. And then just yeah, why don't we do that? Why don't we do that? That'll be interesting. Get some solder fumes going. See if I can get a little bit more lead poisoning. Kicking on the soldering iron. We're going to get the wood block out here. And we're just going to get something done on this build. And at the end of the stream, I'm going to order one of those Darwin stacks because Bob did just reply. It's hard to... don't remember at the moment. I have mine just sticking out the side, but that's just me. So yeah, that Darwin stack will work in here. He said it's tight, but it will absolutely fit. So that's what she said. You know? My dad says my Cobra is white. What's that in reference to? Rob Axelson. Gotta be quick around here, Dad. These motherfuckers are worse than I am. Alright. We're gonna flux these guys. We're gonna tin them. And then we will solder the motors up to them so that we can say that we did something on the stream that I specifically titled Toothfairy 2. We covered some important ground, though, when it comes to this frame. You know, the fact that, like, most 20x20 stacks are not going to fit. And I'm kind of the guy that can make anything fit. Oh, Jesus. Chat is devolving into just madness. Something cool that that Flywoo does on these arm LEDs is they put the pads on both sides, and they actually put through holes. And what's cool is the through holes let some of the solder kind of penetrate these guys. I don't know. The through holes are very small. I don't see ever using the through holes, but it lets the solder kind of like seep in between the pads, which, I don't know, seems like a good idea. You know what I mean? Seems intelligent. They've always worked really well. It also lets when I put the flux in there, the flux goes down in the little hole, and then the pads absorb a whole bunch of flux. So it makes soldering to these pads really, really easy. I dig it. It's a subtle thing, but, you know, the finer things in life tend to have a lot of subtlety to them. The meta of a thing, it typically has a lot of subtlety to it. My dad just says the word flux. I fluxed them, Dad. Did you not see me? I used the flux pen and everything. They're all fluxed up. I fluxed it up. See what I did there? Ooh. Alright. 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 Let's do the other side. And then we'll stick the motors on. Pull out a nice long amount of solder. Compost Pile says, "Dang, my LEDs are tiny. These look manageable." Yeah, these are really good. Nobody, Flywoo is the only company that makes these, that makes a arm LED that's 15 millimeters long, which is pretty short, but also has the nice width that these have on them, the nice pad separation, and these will take up to 6S. Every single other race wire LED that is less than 20 millimeters long will not take up to 6S. I'm not using 6S on this build, but if I ever have to, I'll be covered. And all the other benefits are really nice. Okay. We are in. Yeah, that sound, this sound right here, ready? My dad had a Weller soldering iron, and that sound right there has like a very strong association with my youth, because I would hang out with my dad a lot in the basement, and he would do soldering, and that's a very specific sound. He was an electrical engineer for many years. And so, yeah, that sound right there, it's, yeah, there's a nostalgia to it. And it's really cool, and it makes me think about him. And that's nice. I like that a lot. Because we live hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles away. So it's nice to you know, feel close to him sometimes, even though he's 800 plus miles away. What do you think of that, world? Frank Nicholas says, through holes make the joint stronger and harder to remove. Abraham says, listen to your dad. Robert Garcelon says, vias on pads handle more current, more metal. Are the holes called vias, I guess, Robert? Abraham says, flex more and stop with the back ass wise ass. Kevin Sumner says, I'm putting in some race wire too and just burnt the shit out of my knuckle with the iron. Pro tip, don't burn yourself. Rob Oxison says, to quote my old partner, if you use flux to solder a capacitor, does it make it a flux capacitor? That's a good one. That's a good one. Not even gonna lie. That's a good one. All right. So the you do want to be a little bit careful with these. If you add too much solder, if you tin the top with too much solder, it can come oozing out the bottom of the through hole. And what you want to remember is that carbon fiber is conductive. So, you know, when you put these down on the arm, you're going to want to use like a nice big patch of VHB, right? And that's going to isolate it from the arm. But I try to make sure that I don't put too much solder on top when I'm tinning them, because I don't want to have a big blob of conductive solder and then have the potential of that pushing through the VHB. So when you're doing these, when you're done, just flip them over and make sure that the bottom is somewhat flat. And if you put too much solder on there, you can use solder braid to remove some of it so that the bottom of these guys is nice and flat. Not the biggest deal in the world, but, you know, I mean, we're insane about everything else. We might as well be insane about this. License to Drive says vias equals viaducts. Okay, so we're calling the holes viaducts? I'm down with that. Athix says there's a $25 TS100 knockoff option now. Yeah, we were talking about that on our call today with Joshua and the fellas. Looks pretty good. I forget the name of the company that makes it, but it looks pretty good. It's got a clear body. Incredible value. So there is a little capacitor, not a capacitor, a little, I don't know, jib jab on here. But I don't really think it matters which direction that goes in, so whatever. We'll just, we'll put 2 of them one way and the other 2 the other way. So let's spread those guys out, and we're gonna reflux these joints just so that our balls stay nice and shiny. Always important to have clean, shiny. Never mind. Semper ubi sub ubi, friends. Always wear underwear. If I ever get a tattoo, it may very well be that. That's actually a joke from Frasier, of all places. Here we go, soldering on some motors. So the outside ones, I try to get it towards the outside of the pad, and I always try to keep the the silicone off of the pad. I try to run the edge of the silicone up to the very edge of the PCB, so that the wire is going to sit flat on the as flat as possible down to the pad surface. That way, if the wire gets pulled really hard, it's the strongest possible connection there, and typically it will not rip the pad off of the little arm LED. I have the same approach when I'm soldering the arm LED wires to the ESC. Try to make everything as strong as possible there, so that if you break an arm in a really violent crash, hopefully you won't rip any pads off. But you should have plenty of strain relief. You should have enough extra wire between the arm LED and the ESC so that if the arm breaks, it just takes up the extra slack. You never want to have like a straight line of wire directly to the ESC, because then when the arm breaks, it's just going to yank those pads right off the ESC. The third one, when dealing with these motor wires that you've cut ultra short, typically for like a 3-inch rig, the third one is always a little bit more of a challenge to get perfectly on there, and this time was no different. And so let me just super quick try to rework it. I just want it to be a little closer. There we go. PDCs are online. Away we go. That looks a little bit better. Yeah, there we go. All right. That's what you want it to look like, friends. The silicone butts right up against the PCB. When you look at it from the side, when you look at it from the side, you should see that the silicone drops down below the PCB. See that? That's what you want. There you go, you can really see that. Cool? My dad says, add flux. I did that. I added flux. You gotta pay attention, damn it. I think he's just fucking with me now. Has my dad figured out the art of trolling? Oh boy. I'm screwed. You know, you hope that your 70-year-old parents just never figure out the art of trolling. But when they do, well, you know, you spent probably the first 20 years on the planet inadvertently trolling them, so I have to assume that I deserve it. Okay. Alright. First one's looking good. Second one. Come on. Get off of there. There we go. It's all prep with soldering. By the time your soldering iron comes down, it should be in the perfect position. Everything should be good to go. You never want to just get the soldering iron down and then try to adjust stuff on the fly. You want to have the wire exactly where you want it. Soldering iron comes down, provides heat, and goes away. You don't want to be using the tip of the soldering iron to try to move the wire around and get it in the right spot. That's what your left hand is for. That and the stranger. It's also for that. Somebody will get that joke. One person will get that joke. Alright, so the first one, I accidentally touched the joint on the first one, and it pushed the silicone up and over. So let's do this. Let's pull it back, and I just need to pull that first wire off the PCB a little bit. Add some fresh solder, which has a little bit of flux in it. There we go. That's better. Oh, and I need to practice what I preach, because that I did not have control of that wire, and it mooshed its way upwards. There we go. One of my favorite little tricks is to use these, use the tips on these again, like, so. How can I show you guys this? So if you're, perfect. So if you're holding the wire, right? If you're holding the wire like that, and you got a big gap here, right? If this is the flat surface, you can push. You can hold the wire like that against the pad, and then when you bring the tip of the soldering iron down, you can push the wire down into the pad like that. And then you can very gently release your tweezers and then re-grab the tweezers while you're pushing them down into your little work surface, and then re-grab it, and that'll hold the wire completely flat on the pad. It's hard to explain that, but it's a good way to make sure that you're holding the wire down. Otherwise, you're going to try to like choke up on the wire and just hold it in the tip of the tweezers, and sometimes it can get a little bit less than amazing. And that last wire is kind of fighting me. Let's get some flux on there, and then we're going to reflow it one more time. So like this is a perfect example of it, right? So I'm going to take these tweezers. This wire is exactly where I want it. I'm going to open the tweezers, I'm going to go around the wire, I'm going to push the tweezers down against the wood, and then I'm going to grip it. That's going to hold this wire exactly where it needs to be. It's not going to go up, it's not going to go down, it's going to stay in the exact right spot, and then I'm just going to rework this by putting heat on it since I put a big blob of flux. And now that's much better. And yeah, you're using, like, it's kind of like in shooting. In shooting, you want to have as many points of contact as possible. So like if you're shooting a rifle, right, you don't want to be muscling the rifle up in the air with your elbows out. That's going to cause shaking. You want to tuck this elbow down for an extra point of contact, because this is now like locked in. And sometimes you can even do it on both sides so that you have two different points of contact. You're kind of doing the same thing with the tip of your wang. Tweezers. Athix says you live with the stranger. I do not. David Ciotti says add flux when we working. Yeah, I was lazy the second time I reworked that, and it bit me in the ass. Always listen to Dad and wear clean underwear. Scott says I got the joke. Kevin Sumner says you like to sit in your hand too. That's a joke from Gone in 60 Seconds, isn't it? Rob Axelson says points of contact. Okay, 2 motors done. 2 more to go, and then I'll start struggling to figure out what else to do on this build. Although it is after 10 o'clock, so we have. My dad says solder the center wire first. So that would help with the outside wires, but the problem with that is then I'd be crossing over. I guess I could then move the work like this. Let's try it. Let's try soldering the center wire first. It's funny, on that second one that I did, I was like, I wonder if if I do the center wire first, it'll be better or worse. I usually go outside to in or like top to bottom so that I'm not crossing over. I like to sit the soldering iron really flat to get the biggest contact patch possible. So when I'm doing that, if I cross over the joints, sometimes they'll get angry. But you can always move the work to you, which I think is what my dad is getting at. So let's try that. So there's the center. So now if I move the work like that, I can take the outside and I can push it in like that, and then we can take our tweezers like this and we can hold it where it needs to be. Yeah, this ain't bad. Alright, hold it like that. Release the tweezers, re-clamp the tweezers while I'm pushing them into the wood. Yeah, that's way better doing it that way. And then we can take the work and move it around like that. Sometimes I'll do stuff in a weird way so that you guys can see it better on camera. Maybe that's... I feel like I've tried that before. I feel like I've tried doing the center one first before. But I've moved this camera. This camera used to be over there, and it was like a really steep angle looking in this way. So I used to try to never have my hand up like this because it would block that camera. But now this camera looks pretty much straight down. So yeah, it really doesn't matter where this hand is. Plus, you guys can't see shit. I don't think you guys can really see what the hell I'm doing. Can you? I don't know. It's hard. My OBS window is really small, so I can't really see any details, which makes me kind of assume that nobody can ever see what I'm working on. Where's the bottom of the table? The bottom of the table is here. Yeah, I want this camera farther. It's really hard, man. The bench cam situation is really difficult. That came out really nice doing the center first. I think I'm going to start doing center first. Yeah, that worked really well. Thanks, Dad! Good call. Alright. Let's do another center first. It's only good if you can do it twice in a row and you still like it. Okay. So we're going to go red first. Let's pull these guys out of the way. This is when the motor wires get cut this short, it does become a little... It is definitely more challenging. I don't usually recommend cutting the motor wires quite this short because of that. But on this build, because of where that gap is in the duct, you have to do this. Like this is a requirement if you're going to run these arm LEDs. Realistically, on a Cinewhoop, there's not much reason to have arm LEDs, if I'm honest. So I'm gonna push the tip of the tweezers down into the wood block. I'm gonna push the wire down as far as it'll go, but it's still sitting up on the big blob of solder, right? That's why we want to release the wire and then re-grab it. So here's the sequence of events. I'm grabbing the wire because I want to hold it in the right spot. I'm gonna bring the tip of the soldering iron down, and then once I have a little bit of a grip on the wire with the tip of the soldering iron, then I'm going to release the tweezers. That's going to allow the wire to go completely flat against the pad, and then I'm going to re-grip the tweezers so that I can hold it in place. It's going to happen fast. Ready? Push down, release the tweezers, hold it down, re-grab the tweezers, remove the heat. Just like that. And then the other thing that's nice about that is you're pushing your tweezers into the wood, and that's going to keep them nice and solid and like it's nice and still. When the joint is cooling, you need to make sure you're as still as possible so that you don't get a cold solder joint. If the joint is moving around, the solder is going to cool at different rates. So that's how you get cold solder joints. I feel like I can maybe knock this out by not even moving the work. Release, re-grab, remove the heat. This soldering iron is at 710 degrees Fahrenheit, which is a little high, but it speeds things up, and I don't have to adjust the temperature between motor pads and battery pads. And that's why that happens so quickly. I mean, I can just whack that on there, and away it goes. Yeah, there you go. Let me give you guys as close of a look at this as I possibly can. See if it's dad approved. So there they are. You can see the silicone is just shy of the edge of the PCB, and then you can see that the silicone drops down below the actual pad. All right, so just imagine this motor getting pulled really hard. It's going to pull straight out on that pad where the pad is really strong. And it's going to more than likely not rip that pad off. So there you guys go. That's how to get it just right. You could certainly argue that it's a little bit of a waste of time for quads because of how often we smash these things and have to rip them apart. You could also kind of argue that I do kind of have this theory that if we do a shitty job soldering and have like cold solders that are strong enough but not super strong, specifically on the arm LEDs, that in a really hard crash that does pull a pad, I would rather have the arm LED fail rather than pulling a pad off of the $80 ESC. But good luck. I think the right solution is to add a little bit of extra wire between the race LED and the ESC, so that when an arm breaks, there's enough extra wire to take that gap up. Because you're playing with fire if you're purposefully cold soldering joints, right? Because they can just let go at random. So it would be an interesting. I don't know how you would test that, but that would be like an interesting obsession for someone to have, you know, figure out the exact, yeah, like I'm not going to use flux this time, and I'm going to hold the tip on at too low of a temperature for too little time. You know what I mean? Like it would be interesting to figure. I'm not doing it though. You'd have to break a lot of arms, but yeah. Scott Gillen says, "Oh my God, you're the master at soldering. Will you train me, my teacher? LOL." You got to get my dad to teach you. He's the one that's the actual master. I'm just the apprentice. I've only been doing it for a couple of years. He's been doing it his whole life. Oh, I didn't know that. My dad says cold solder joints introduce resistance into the joint. We definitely don't want that. So, is there anything else that I can do on this build? I feel like I accomplished nothing. One of the rear is missing a little. Why are these even here? What goes in the rear of this? What's that there for? It's not arms. What's in the back of this build? What's that there for? Oh wait, I have it here. Well, no. Let's go to frames and Toothfairy 2 and what's in the back there? Oh, the antenna holder. Oh, that's cool. Look at that. There's two little... Wait, no. No. That's not it. Huh. Is there another picture that maybe shows something else in the rear there? There's a couple of press nuts in the rear of it. But then there's nothing above them. Oh, look at that. He's got... This is set up the same way. There's only one little press nut in the back there. That's... I'm sure it's there for a reason. There's the vibration management shim, which I will be using. Although, man, this one looks way different. How does this thing go together? It looks way different. Oh, I don't have the... I think I'm looking at the wrong thing. Oh yeah, I don't have the vibration management shim on one of these builds. That's okay. That's not the end of the world. In the unopened one though, I do have the little shim. Shim shiminy shim 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 eroo. Okay, so I'm gonna rob that from this unopened build. Yeah, there it is. There it is. Okay, cool. Ooh, that's thin. Jesus! That is a thin piece of carbon. Woo-wee! Look at that. Jeez. Okay. Okay. I see you. I see you, Bob Ruge, with your tricks. I have no idea what the things are in the rear, though. Interesting. Scott says, me, myself, and I have been soldering for 35 years. Damn, Scott. Very cool. Rob Axelson says, Dad, Ciotti's equals soldering guru. Double A says, dropped you a message in Facebook. I saw that you sent me a message, Double A. I just didn't read it. I will after the stream. Reading the Wind says, that's what she said. Ruben Tim says, it looked like a TPU piece with a bolt through into the press nut. So let's figure it out. Let's figure it out real quick. Yeah, Flux is key, RAM. Let's figure this out. So here's the little rear antenna mount that just clips right on there. And yeah, if that press nut is going to be there, this piece ain't going to go on there. So this is a press nut that's pushed in to the top. So this is for putting a screw up from the bottom. I have no idea what that would be for. I guess if you wanted... I don't know. Let's see if I can somewhat easily kick this press nut out. Typically they're in there pretty good. Yeah, no, that's in there pretty good. My hammer is at Maggie's. So I'll just use my fist. I'll just fist it. How can I force this out? If there's a piece on there, I can screw above it and yank it. I mean, I don't really need to figure it out right now. But yeah, see, it's gonna sit up like that. It doesn't want to do that. It wants to. Oh! Hold on. There's this white one. Is this white one different? No, this is the same. It's exactly the same. Huh? Yeah, I just need to kick that out of there, and then this guy will sit on in there all nice. So it wants to sit in there like that. That's how it wants to sit in there, nice and flat. But yeah, this press nut just needs to get pressed out, and I need a hammer. something heavy to smack it out of there. Hold on, let me see if I can just use these pliers. Right tool for the job. A pair of pliers is a hammer. What could go wrong? It's not coming out. Let me try one more thing. Try one of these MIP drivers. What's insane is that I only own one hammer. I actually don't own any hammers. I stole the hammer from my dad. Dad, you ever wonder where that small wood-handled hammer went? I took it. And I only feel a little bit bad about it. I feel terrible about it. Ram Don goes, we got that. Family Giver says, that's a potato chip, not carbon. Grievo says, you can go either way. CiottiFPV, I used regular nuts on those bolts for the antenna mount. Man, that's really in there. Wait, Grievo, what do you... you lost me. You can go either way. I used regular nuts on those bolts. We still talking about this rear one here? I got to get it out. This camera mount will not sit on there properly with that press nut in there. Yeah, I just need something heavier to smack it with. Oh, I have the drill. I can hit it with a drill. Oh, wait, no, I have a mallet. I have a mallet. I have things. I bought this mallet, too. Where's that mallet? Hey, there's the mallet. This mallet might not have the sharp smack to get this jarred loose. It's really in here. But let's give it a quick try. It's certainly got the weight behind it that it needs, but yeah, it doesn't have the sharp kakah that it needs. Let's hang this off the side, and we'll give it a good smack. See what happens. Whoo! That is really in there. Jesus. Okay. Wow. Although it is actually starting to come out of there. Just barely. Hold on. I don't want to break this carbon. The carbon is kind of thin towards the outside here. I got a little tiny gap beginning there, though. Terminal Insanity says drill it out. Aren't FPV cycle press nuts threaded? Turn it out. Some of them are. I wonder if these are. Good call. Good call. The question is, which direction is it threaded in? Typically, they're threaded so that they tighten into the hole. Let's see what happens here. I mean, even if I strip this out, it's kind of fine. Nah, I'm twisting that pretty hard and it's not budging. So either it's not threaded or it's threaded in the direction that I'm tightening it in. I am hitting a screwdriver with the mallet, Dad. This is how we do it in Georgia. I need to get a new set of these screwdrivers, though. That's my excuse. Oh, I can put it right on top of this this little plastic bit here. That'll keep the carbon from blowing up. Okay. We're going to give this one more asinine try. And it's going to come out. I can feel it. I can feel it. I told you. Now we can see if it's threaded. It is not. This is a straight down. Yeah, this is not one of the threaded ones. It's just straight down. See it? The ribs are straight. Oh man, I was hitting it hard enough where there's no way in hell I would have gotten it out with needle nose. The problem is it's really smooth, Daniel, and it's just tiny. These Weehaw drivers. So here's the story behind. So I use these Weehaw drivers a lot as punches because this 1.5 millimeter M2 Weehaw driver is all rounded out. But if you just buy this individually, it's like $12. If you get like the whole kit of these, it's like $20. So I'm just mean to these, and I use them as punches because I want them to explode so that I can justify buying a whole other set. I just can't bring myself to get an extra full set of these Weehaw drivers just to replace this one. So I just annihilate these. But here's the insane thing. I've been hitting these two with a hammer and with a mallet for years. And they just don't die. These are so well made. These Weehaw drivers are so well made. It's wild. But yeah, I really want them to explode so that I can replace this this 1.5. If you guys ever wanted a window into my mind, there you go. That's how my brain works. There it is, little camera mount, sitting perfectly on the back there. Yeah, look at that. There it is. There it is. Oh, that's looking good now. Okay. So yeah, throw a couple of M2s in there. Keep that thing held on. Love it. This is a really slick little frame. There's a lot of things to like about this Toothfairy 2 frame. But unfortunately, I do not have an electronic stack that will work for it, so we're gonna have to wait for that. I can't really think of anything else to do. Like, I could piece it together, but then I would have to take it right back apart in order to build it once the stack comes. So yeah, Kevin Sumner says press nuts ripped for your displeasure. FPV Trucker says press nuts are designed to not be removed. Yeah, but you know, I do what I want. I can end the stream, but I do have some work to do on the Razorback. So I think I'm going to do a little bit of work on the Razorback here because you know, the stream is going. It is DJI week. The Toothfairy 2 scratch build was a complete and utter failure. So I need some kind of a win. Let's get the Razorback put all the way back together. It's close, man. It's close. I just got the capacitor on there. I don't have motor. I can't get the Razorback all the way put together because I'm waiting for the motors that I ordered last night. But I can get it completely ready for the motors, and that sounds like a plan to me. So here's the other Toothfairy setup. Let me get a little build bag going for this thing so that I don't feel bad about having shit everywhere. Hingus! Oh, okay. Oh, I got another. Oh, okay. Vista with the Immortal T. This is the one that I want to use. This is the one that I'm going to be using. Yeah. Hey, so the fancy little packaging. Look at that. Wait, no, that's not going to work. Yeah, well, it says things. It says what the item is. Go figure. This is the mount. Yeah, this is the one. This is the one. Same thing as the white one that you guys saw a minute ago, but in black. Little Immortal T rear piece, and then the 45-degree up, and then the same little Chompy boy. All right, let's throw this away. Not throw this away. Michael D says you could play more Gran Turismo. Believe me, I want to. There's nothing that I would like to do more than go, all right, guys, this stream's over. I'm gonna go play GT7. But man, there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of rigs that I want to get over on the DJI. This gig is at the beginning of April, and I want to be over prepared for it. So I'm going to work my ass off on the way up to that gig to make absolutely sure that I am ready for it. As ready as I can be, at least. Because there's gonna be it's gonna be nuts. Like I don't know how it's gonna go flying live. Like that seems kind of weird. But you know, I mean, at the same time, it's kind of not weird because it's just like, yo, go fly over there and then go swoopy down. Okay. Oh, that looks great. Like I know exactly how it's gonna go. So should be cool. First St. Patty's Day off in 18 years, Rob Oxison says. Jesus. I don't know if I've ever had St. Patrick's Day off. That's interesting. Okay, so these were for this build. Terminal Insanity says, can't the GoPro stream video? It can, but not from any kind of significant range. It streams via Bluetooth, and Bluetooth is very, very, very short range. The guy that's hiring me for this gig did ask me if I could put a cell phone onto my rigs, because he's thinking about running a cable to the cell phone and then having the cell phone up on like Wi-Fi and cellular. And I was like, I said technically yes, but woo boy, that sounds sketchy. And I also said, like, I have no idea what the phone is going to do when it's being flipped all around, and like I just basically said, like, that does not sound like a good idea to me. Like, if you want me to do it, like, we can maybe figure out a way, but that sounds like bad news. So yeah, I don't know. But he also did say that the 720p feed should be totally fine from the DJI Smart Controller. So in theory, we're going to be just fine. But, I don't know. Robox said, in Savannah, law enforcement has to work. New job, totally different. Nice. Okay, so that's the Toothfairy 2 in a bag. Oh, no, it's not. There's all kinds of stuff missing from that. I need a bigger bag. It's fine. I can just make a pile. Shipping should be pretty quick. I'm just gonna make a pile over here. Okay. Put these mounts down there. Put the unopened one down there. Okay, and I'm gonna put the V4 ducts down there as well, because I'm very tempted to put these V4 ducts onto one of the Cinesplorers, but the Cinesplorers are actually all ripped apart at the moment, which terrifies me. But they're not ripped apart for big. One of the main analog Cinesplorer is fine. It just needs to get flashed, which I just have one duct off of it, so it's no big deal. Your phone, sure, no problem. Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like you like, you know, these things fly, right? You sure you want your $1,000 phone up on it. Like I appreciate your confidence in me, but you should have less confidence in me. I kind of wish you had less confidence in me. Okay, so let's get this all wrapped up here. So yeah, there's the capacitor. It seems to be holding on okay with this VHB. I'm very nervous about this capacitor just being held on by VHB, but my God, VHB is some strong ass stuff. Ruby Tim says, live FPV is easy. You just need a GoPro Hero 4 and the $10,000 broadcast kit for that. Yeah, that's what I was... When he initially contacted me, I was like, I don't have a GoPro 4. Do you have the broadcast kit thing? And he was like, no. But the Inspires can do it. I was like, well, I don't know. I don't know about that. Okay, so... This is now on 20mm standoffs. Cadix Nebula Pro, because it's much smaller. I think I'm gonna hold off on putting the Coca-Cola sticker on this capacitor because I'm just not 100% sure that this capacitor is gonna stay here. I kind of wish that I hadn't used the heat transfer tape because then I could just run a well. What am I saying? I can just run one big... No. It's a little too slammed. I was going to say I can just run one big zip tie around the whole thing. But... The top plate is going to sit pretty close down here. Yeah, that ain't going to work. That ain't going to work. Hey, anybody in chat have blue TPU? WOM, I know you do, but man, I've asked you to print me a whole bunch of shit. Anybody else have blue TPU that wouldn't mind printing a couple of things for me? My dad says, is that an electrolytic cap? Have you tried tantalum caps? I don't know what this capacitor is, but the FPV community has tried a bunch of different capacitors, and this is the one that they've roundly decided is the right one. This is a low ESR Panasonic cap. Paul McDonald, do you have Saint Smart Blue? Dude, amazing. Can you do me a huge favor and like shoot me a message somewhere and be like, yo, what you need printed, bro? It's not much. It's just it's one of these and a couple of these. But I want them in blue because this is the Razorback. So I want the rear end of this thing to be blue, like the thrusters. Kevin Sumner asking my dad, do the tantalum caps come in low ESR? Yeah, whatever the hell low ESR means. Apparently that's important to us, Dad. So. I don't know what any of these words mean. I don't know what tantalum is. That sounds like a German sex act that only Wolverine can undergo. All right, getting a couple of nuts on my ESC here. One way to make sure that you're not over tightening your nuts against rubber grommets is to do it like I'm doing it. Just use your fingernail on the corner of the nut. It doesn't give you much torque, so you can't like over torque the nuts when you do that. If you don't have fingernails, that's not going to work. But yeah, that's one way to make sure you're not over tightening them, is to just tighten them like one nut. Just like tighten it from the side, you know, like this, and you'll be able to get enough spin to tighten it down into the rubber grommet, which will usually be tight enough for it to not back out, but you won't over tighten it to the point where you're squashing the rubber standoffs too much. Sorry, the rubber grommets too much, rather. All right. There's that. It also helps to just push down on it a little bit and make sure that there's a little bit of squish. On the ESC, it doesn't matter as much. The rubber grommets on the ESC are not there for any gyro because there is no gyro in there. They're just there to make it a little bit more reliable. When we go smacking into concrete at 80 miles an hour, you know, we're probably generating a G spike, a G-force spike of like massive, certainly of massive proportions. I don't know, 100 G maybe a million G. So having a little bit of cushion just spreads that huge shock load out a little bit. Ramdanko says counter electrode negative connection layers. Ooh, check that out. I don't know electricity. Equivalent series resistance is what ESR stands for. That's pretty cool. Terminal Insanity says high ESR is better for smoothing out the current, but they're less efficient. Terminal, do you mean less efficient as in the same size capacitor will not have the same amount of microfarads? Is that what you mean by efficient? I have a feeling it might be, but what the hell do I know? You guys wouldn't believe how little I know about electricity. It's kind of crazy that I can build these damn things. But I mean, you know, with YouTube, we don't really need to know anything other than how to search. This one I actually over-tightened a little bit. Back this one off a little bit. So yeah, the tightness of your ESC nuts is kind of inconsequential. But there's no reason to just over-tighten them because that eliminates any ability of them to do their actual little job. I'll bet you guys $10,000 that I put all these nuts on here and then I realized that I need to take the ESC off one more time. I'm just going to go ahead and call that right now. So maybe I'll feel a little bit less awful about it when it happens because at least I'll have called it. Okay. Paul McDonald, thank you, dude. Thank you. McConnell Studios says, I have several TPU blues. Happy to print more. If Paul McDonald bails on me, I will bug you. Thank you, dude. Matt, you're another one that sends me an awful lot of stuff. I try to spread it around. I appreciate so much what you guys do for me, but I never want to be like a hassle. So I try to spread it around. Plus, like, you know, if I had a 3D printer, I would want to print stuff for other people too. Like, that's awesome. Like, you know, that like feels good. So I feel like spreading the love around. I'm hopefully making a bunch of people feel good about helping. You know? Okay. What else? Sketchy capacitor is on here all sketchy like. I wish, man, it weirds me out so bad to have anything only held on by VHB. I really wish I could get a physical. I almost thought about taking this screw out of the Vista, and then I could run a zip tie through this one screw hole to wrap around the. You know what? That is exactly what I'm gonna do. 3 screws holding this Vista down is absolutely fine. I'm gonna use this screw hole here as a zip tie slot, because at that point the whole capacitor situation is like done and just good to go, and yeah, I'm kind of digging that. and I won't run into that issue of build height because this is kind of recessed down a little bit. So yeah, I also took my X-Acto knife, and I got up in there and I cut away at the extra heat transfer tape material because it was all sticky and it would have just gotten a bunch of junk up in there. So I'm kind of like I'm doing like a partial zip tie Vista mount method. No way in hell I'm gonna mount the entire Vista with zip ties. That just seems ridiculous. I can't believe people do that. I'm gonna do a partial version of that though. 3 screws and 1 zip tie. That's the lightweight way to do it, right? No? Oh well. We'll do it anyway. Razzie B says, well, yeah, it'll happen now. You spoke it into existence. B-Man says, your dad is a wealth of info. You have no idea, B-Man. I think he should get a spot on your stream live once a week. That'd be interesting. Wednesday night with the Ciottis. How about some dental floss? What do you mean, Dad? To tie this on? Ooh, I could. Yeah, that'd work. God, that would be sketchy though. The main reason that I'm nervous about this is because this is really close to this prop. So if this comes off in flight, it could very easily get up, just make the propeller angry and not spinny, and then all the bad happens. All right, so apparently this zip tie is too thick. That's really annoying. What the hell? Oh, but look at me. I've got a couple of these little tiny red ones left. Ooh, please be small enough. Please be small enough. God damn it. Well, oh, yeah. Okay, there's enough showing on the bottom where I should be able to just yank it through, basically. Let's see. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. That's a lot of resistance. The homeboy does not want to go through there. Let's do this. I will, if I put the head of the zip tie there over here, I can pull the minimum amount through. As it is right now, I'm going to have, well, let's just keep, maybe it'll be fine. Oh, fuck. That's exactly what I didn't want to happen. I was pulling it from the, oh, there it is. Yeah. I had a feeling that's where that was going. Damn, yo, what the hell zip ties are people running through this thing? Oh, Jesus. Don't you dare be stuck in there. Don't you dare. Okay, good. What the hell zip ties are people putting through these wee little holes? Lube up. Dental floss to cut the heatsink material? What's that mean? Interesting. I mean, do I have any other zip ties that are even skinnier? What about these? What about this pink one? Is this extra skinny? Oh, look at that! Oh, yeah. Okay, all right, good to go. The pink zip tie is extra skinny. Who would have thunk it? Okay, I'm going to run this from the bottom up, though. I'm going to run this from the bottom up. Because there's a nice little spot down there for the head of the zip tie to sit. And then I can just wrap it around and that'll make it a little bit easier to pull this thing tight. So I'll show you what this looks like in 1 second. All right, so I gotta find a source for these skinny zip ties because I only have 2 of these little pink ones left, and it's all but guaranteed that I'll have to cut this. Since I don't have many of them, it's just pretty much a guarantee that I'll have to cut this zip tie off within the next 24 hours. And then I'll have one less. So, yeah. Not going to pull this super tight. I don't want to use up a lot of the strength of the zip tie with its tightness, especially because I've got the VHB holding this guy on here. So, yeah. But I did give it a little bit of Oompa Loompa. Oh, yeah! I was kind of running out of ideas on how to mount this capacitor. I'm really happy that's there. Here's the one thing that could completely screw this, though. Is where is the propeller gonna sit in once it's on the motor? So that is all the way down. The motor is now centered. Yeah, so it definitely does cross over, but if the propeller bends, it looks like it might just barely clear it. I'm gonna do it. This is not a basher rig, so I shouldn't be bending propellers up. But yeah, well, no. Let me. I'm gonna figure this out properly. I'm gonna put a couple of screws in here to center this motor just right, and I'm gonna figure this out properly because this does like really actually matter. So, okay, motor is centered up now. Put the prop on it, and we're gonna just bend the prop and see if it hits. Oh, it doesn't. Oh my god, it clears. It clears by nothing. It clears by like really nothing, but it absolutely clears. See if I can show you guys. Oh man, this is going to be rough on the autofocus. I mean, it's just not going to autofocus, but yeah, it just, oh my god. Oh yeah, buddy. That's what I'm talking about. There's just like a nothing gap there. Cool. That is, good lord, that's meant to be. Look at that little capacitor hanging off the side there like a little jet engine. Shit, now I wish I'd put the fucking, well, here it is. Didn't take 24 hours. It took 2 minutes. I fucking bastard. I'm going to leave it. It's fine. At some point I'll have to cut this off, and then I'll forget to put the Coca-Cola sticker on it and get even more pissed. But then eventually I'll calm down, and at some point I'll remember. Last thing that I need to do is put these white race wire LEDs on the front. Unfortunately, these wires that are on here right now are just a bit outside. They're just ever so slightly too short. TV zip ties for McMaster car. Oh. How about Amazon? McMaster car is going to charge me shipping, and then I'm going to end up ordering 50 other things from them because they're McMaster car. Yeah, these are like too short by nothing. These are the wires that were on the, I don't know. Let me get caught up on chat a little bit. Kevin Sumner says, there are smaller zip ties than the standard mini ones you get on like Amazon. I have them to secure antennas on HD0 VTXs. Oh, that's cool. Benchcam focus out of whack. Story of my life. Dental floss to hold down the capacitor. Dental floss can cut VHB and other sticky mounting stuff like the mount tape for emblems, badges. Oh, right. Yeah, that's a trick for getting badges off of cars. Good call. Looks like there's a link here. Copy link address. Present! McMasterCar.com. Come on! Come on! Just a bit outside. Ooh, that's a wee little, zip tie is the word. Jesus. Cool, I'm gonna leave that tab opened. Alright, we just went over 3 hours. This is a good spot to end. Just pretend like I soldered on those race wires. I'm gonna go play Gran Turismo 7. Still love you guys though, but I love that game more. Sorry! Thanks for hanging, friends. CiottiFPV.com to support your buddy. This is my full-time job. I do rely on support from beautiful people like you. $3 whole will get you on the Patreon, and it's well worth the 10 cents a day. Love you. Be good. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. I'll see you guys again tomorrow. I have no idea what time. Tomorrow's Thursday. This should be done by tomorrow, and then we can dive into the dead cat. Oh no! Tomorrow we're gonna do the Cineglide. Tomorrow is gonna be the Cineglide scratch build because I have everything that I need for that. Yeah. So tomorrow will be Cineglide. That'll be fun. It's gonna be a long stream, so I'm probably gonna try to get it started at maybe 6, and then if it goes for 6 hours, a lot of times scratch builds take around 6 hours, so then we'll wrap it up at about midnight. So yeah, tomorrow 6-ish, maybe a little earlier if I can get my shit together. Probably not. But yeah, thanks for hanging. Here comes a little more flying from the T-Motor F40 Pro 4 testing. I'm just going to give it to you guys raw. Full noise.
You see the value of that?
Blah, 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 blah. My name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. If you want to donate to the Stick and Dick End Fund, I've spent like $300 or so thus far on this just to get it rolling. So yeah, shoot me over PayPal or just join the Patreon or anything, because we got to get that number going. I'll bug you guys more about that on Sunday and Monday, the big streams. Love ya. Be good. Bye-bye. What this doesn't do is scale the PIDs down. That's what the throttle...